Here with you on the Wisconsin Live Desk as we get you going on this Friday afternoon. There is a lot to get to over the next 2 hours. We'll be with you here on Fox Local. It is 12:30 here in Milwaukee, already 78 degrees as we're looking ahead to another fun weekend of Summerfest. Night one was last night of weekend two. Much better weather in the forecast for Friday and Saturday nights. We give you a live look at downtown Milwaukee, and we'll do a quick whip around of some of the different things that we're tracking for you. Certainly on the lighter side, we have this great feed that has routinely been giving us different shots from the canals of Venice. The reason for that, of course, the impending nuptials between the second richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, and his soon-to-be wife, Lauren Sanchez. This has drawn everything from celebrities with a packed, star-studded guest list of more than 200 people, including celebrities like Tom Brady, Oprah Winfrey, and more attending, while also bringing protests with it on the impact on Venice and kind of the debate over tourism for all that is coming with the second richest man and leader of Amazon and so many other companies descending on Venice. Much closer to home, we go to the nation's capital, where the Supreme Court has handed down its final decisions of this term. Right before it goes on a break here, some notable decisions the Trump administration is calling, especially one that limits the power of district judges, a great win for the administration. And we'll get into some of the reaction to that after the news this morning on a series of different rulings that the Supreme Court handed down this morning. But we are going to start locally with the story of the night into day into afternoon here in the city of Milwaukee, and that's a serious one, unfortunately. The recent shooting of two Milwaukee police officers, the third and fourth Milwaukee police officers shot in the city of Milwaukee just this year. And for much more on this, we go to our Bowen Kadrovich, who is outside of Frederick Hospital right now. Bowen, it's great to have you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Wish it was a happier story, of course. Get us up to speed if people have not been following this closely this morning. You've been all over this for us on Wake Up. But what happened starting around 9 o'clock last night and how we end up here around 12:30 the day after?
Yeah, hi Carl. Just an absolutely devastating turn of events that took place last night. And this all started, like you said, just a little after 9 o'clock, where two officers, they were dispatched to a call about somebody with a weapon. Now, while they were en route to this call, it got upgraded to shots fired. Now, when they arrived on scene, this is where police say these two officers were ambushed with gunfire, and both of these officers took hits and they could not fire back their weapons. And now this all took place near the alley, or on the alley of the 2200 block of North 24th. Now these officers are now recovering from their injuries. I'm actually standing just outside of the hospital where these two officers are, just like you said, Carl.
Tell us a little bit about some of the new information that we've gotten now, Bowen, because it's kind of come in overnight throughout the day, both an update on an arrest of the suspect here, and then we're starting to learn a bit more about the two officers involved, especially that one who is critically injured.
Yeah, Carl, just moments ago, the Milwaukee Police Department did announce that they have arrested a suspect in connection with the shootings of these two officers. And now the police say that they made an arrest at about around 2 a.m. this morning. Now they did not reveal who this person was or if they had any really identifications of this person, but they do say that charges will likely come very soon in the next few days. Now, when it comes to checking in on our officers here, we have learned that one of the officers are still in critical condition and is still fighting for his life in the hospital behind me. And we have now, or multiple sources have told Fox 6 that the name of the officer who is critically injured is Kendall Corder. The other officer who has not as severe injuries as Kendall, he is expected to make a recovery and to be okay. We do not know his name. We do know that two of these officers, one of them is 32 years old and the other is 29 years old. We do believe that the 32-year-old is the one who is suffering these critical injuries and life-threatening injuries that he is still battling right now. Carl?
Yeah, Kendall Corder, that officer, of course, with so many people sending thoughts and prayers inside that hospital behind you, Bowen. We've heard from a number of different people, whether it was the mayor and members of the police department last night, the leader of the police union here in town, as well as government officials here locally as well. What stood out to you from what we heard both overnight and again today? We got more reaction from the mayor, Cavalier Johnson, around 11:30 or so today.
Yep. Yes, this has really been sparking a lot of fuel, I guess, when it comes to our state, local leaders. And what really stuck out to me was the Milwaukee Police Association, their president, Alexander Ayala, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He really got emotional last night when it came to finding out that these two officers were shot. He came on scene after the incident, and a lot of what he said was, stop killing, or stop shooting our officers, as he did say that in the Ayala, and in the last several years, that there have been multiple cops that have had violence against them, and he has really been advocating against these violent acts against officers. We have also heard from a few local and state leaders today as well of their reactions to these violence on these police officers. We heard from the Milwaukee Alderman Russell Stamper, who released a statement that we cannot allow these actions to define or derail the progress we have been working so hard to achieve. He really is looking for accountability when it comes to acts like this. And we also heard from the mayor today too, when he was over in another meeting, but it is definitely getting a lot of attention from state and local representatives here, and it's really firing a lot of people up, Carl.
Can you tell me, maybe, Bowen, what the scene has been like outside there at the hospital? You've been located there for much of the morning. We know last night we had that video of both squad cars and ambulances racing with their lights flashing both through the streets and then captured on DOT, Department of Transportation cameras as well, trying to get those two officers to the hospital, to that level 1 trauma center as fast as possible. What have you noticed? Is there a larger than normal police presence there, or anything else that you can kind of glean from your morning there outside of Freighter?
Yeah, Carl, I've been monitoring this hospital throughout the morning. I arrived here at around 4:30 this morning and been staying at this location. I have not seen very many first responders or lights that have been coming through this end of the hospital. I can say it's very difficult for us to get onto this hospital's campus, so I haven't seen many squad cars or anything of that nature really coming in and out of this hospital. I've been reaching out to the Milwaukee Police Department this morning as well, trying to get some calls and see and check in on these two officers that are still in the hospital, as far as we know, or what we've been told from Milwaukee Police, that are still recovering from their injuries. I'm looking to get more information about how they are doing there. I did get on the phone with the Milwaukee Police Association's president today. He told me that he is looking to get in touch with the two officers today in the hospital whenever he can as well, Carl.
Yeah, I believe at last check he had been able to speak with the one officer who was doing better as of last night, said he was in pretty good spirits at the time, but had not been able to speak to who we now know is Kendall Corder, a 32-year-old member of the Milwaukee Police Department who was still in critical condition at the time, of course, receiving care from that level 1 trauma center behind you. Bowen Kidrovich joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We'll let you get back to it. If we see anything else, you give us a heads up. We'll get back to you. But thank you very much for your reporting all morning long here on Fox Local.
Will do. Thank you.
As we continue to wait outside of the hospital and keep working on the different sources that we have here at Fox 6, just a sign of what we're working on right now. We're going to check in with another reporter on this story for us a little bit later, around 1 o'clock or so today. Ashley Sears has been back in the neighborhood where all of this started around 9 o'clock last night. There's been a lot of activity, including some community groups who have been there knocking on doors, trying to do outreach in the neighborhood. And we've been trying to get some ring video camera footage for you as well. So we'll check in with Ashley later on the Wisconsin Live Desk. This is the big story here in Milwaukee on this Friday. It started again, as Bowen said, around 9 o'clock last night in Milwaukee. Those two officers ambushed, according to Milwaukee police, after they were responding to a call. They were hit, unable to return fire, rushed to Fredert Hospital. One of them, who we now know is Kendall Corder, in critical condition. The other one expected to have an easier road to recovery. Then we learned this morning that Milwaukee police actually did arrest the suspect that they were looking for after this around 2:15 this morning. We were wall-to-wall coverage here at Fox 6 until almost 2 in the morning, actually, and had heard from the mayor, from the MPA president, Alexander Ayala, from members of the Milwaukee Police Department in a late-night briefing. But then it was actually after that, around 2:15, that police did in fact arrest the person they believe shot those two officers. And when we look bigger picture, we're hoping to bring you an interview live here with Alexander Ayala with the union for Milwaukee Police a bit later. He spoke to just what a violent year this has been for members of that union, for members of the Milwaukee Police Department. One officer shot and injured back in February in the middle of a snowstorm, and then another earlier this month in June. Now, those two officers, thankfully, both survived those injuries. Both were released from the hospital. The first one about a week after that February shooting, the other one just a day after that shooting earlier in June. It remains to be seen how much treatment, how much care these other two officers will have to go through, especially that 32-year-old Kendall Corder, who at last check was in critical condition, potentially fighting for his life there at Fredert Hospital. So they make it 4 Milwaukee police officers shot already this year. If you do the math, it's really 4 in the last 5 months, so less than that when we go February to where we are here in late June. And for the Milwaukee Police Department, it has been almost 2 years, or about 2 years, since they lost an officer in a line of duty death. 2023 was the year that Officer Peter Jerving was shot and killed. That was the last time the Milwaukee Police Department lost an officer in a line of duty event. Certainly hoping that will not be the case for the officer in critical condition here after last night's shooting. We will continue to stay on top of this for you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk as things develop throughout the rest of today, and again bringing you some of that information from the neighborhood when it happened after we allow Ashley to get some of the reporting done in that neighborhood. We'll check in with her later on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We are here with you until 2:30 today, as we are each and every Monday through Friday on Fox Local. We do have to take a short break momentarily, and then a lot else to tell you about going on both around the country and around the world. We mentioned that great live picture from Venice. We also have a sign of rebirth. I'll just give you a little teaser here. The governor of North Carolina working with officials to reopen a state park months after Hurricane Helene swept through that state and did so much damage. It's good to see a continued rebirth and cleaning up and reopening of so many of the places affected by that. So one of the many things we hope to bring you over the next hour and a half or so here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. But first and foremost, a quick break. We'll see you on the other side.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh with you here on this Friday afternoon in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We'll give you a live look. How about American Family Field? The roof open on what has turned out to be a beautiful day. We had all those storms yesterday, some of the rain lasting into early this morning, but the clouds are clearing, the sun is back, and baseball is ready to be played with, get excited for this, the lowliest team in the major leagues coming to town tonight. I say that as a knowledgeable and unfortunately very sad fan of the Colorado Rockies. The Milwaukee Brewers certainly should be favored in this three-game series that starts tonight against the Rockies. Now the fun extends beyond the game itself. It's actually a happy hour Friday at the ballpark, so if you're heading down to American Family Field, they're actually opening up the lots early, and then you can go into the ballpark to get discounted beer. I think it's like $5 for a beer for their happy hour they're hosting before the activities get going and the games start tonight. A 7:10 first pitch against the Rockies. And then stick around. Of course, we talk Summerfest this time of year. The music's not just along the lakefront. Nelly is in town and going to do a post-game concert tonight at American Family Field. This certainly got a lot of attention when it was first added to the calendar this year, and that has finally reached today. So if you're heading to the ballpark today, the roof open, it looks great, beautiful for a tailgate beforehand. Head on in for a happy hour. Enjoy the game against my abysmal Colorado Rockies. No need to extend that conversation further. And then stick around for Nelly afterwards at the ballpark. Should be pretty fun. All right, I mentioned what's happening in North Carolina right now. Certainly speaks to some of the issues that severe weather has brought to much of the country and how hard hit North Carolina was after Hurricane Helene. We saw the governor signing a proclamation. This is all connected to, let me get you the name of this, the reopening of Chimney Rock State Park, which has been closed for basically 9 months since Hurricane Helene swept through this part of western North Carolina. Now representatives are finally able to celebrate the reopening and trying to use it as a way to kickstart the return of tourism to an area. Asheville, North Carolina, for example, such a popular destination, even at one point was thought to be kind of a climate haven from severe weather, and unfortunately that proved to be anything but when Hurricane Helene swept through. But Asheville and this region, including the state park, Chimney Rock, are all on their way back with the governor in town and other officials. Let's listen into this woman speaking right now.
Because you go down that path, and if you didn't know that Helene had happened, you wouldn't know that Helene had happened, because there's just been so much work to clear all of the trails on the way there. So when Helene hit, 18 of our more than 100 sites were impacted in western North Carolina. I'm so thrilled that with today's opening, we have only one park left that is not open, and that's Mount Mitchell. And we are excited. We want Mount Mitchell to be open. For those of you who don't know, the Parkway, the Blue Ridge Parkway, is what gets us into that park, and so we are dependent upon our partners at the National Park Service to help us get in there. But it's so thrilling at this point, 9 months out, to be where we had 18 sites that were really impacted and to be down to one, and that's just because of the great workers that we have in North Carolina. Finally, with 30 million visitors a year to our more than 100,000 sites, we know and appreciate the importance of travel and tourism here in North Carolina. And so we also are really excited to participate with the Visit NC and the Rediscover the Unforgettable campaign here in North Carolina. Again, there's no better symbol of that tourism and of our resilience than the rock above us. And so this opening sends a clear message that even though there's a way to go, we are rebuilding, we're opening, there's so much here to visit and rediscover, and just thank you all for being here and being a part of this. Now I'm really pleased to introduce someone who I'm sure he's very excited that this is happening, because I will no longer be texting him and calling him to say what's happening with the bridge in Chimney Rock. Secretary Joey Hopkins has worked so hard with DNT. They continue to work. They have so much left to do, but his team is incredible. Join me in welcoming Secretary Joey Hopkins.
Thank you, Secretary Cashwell, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. since Secretary Cashwell is the Secretary of Art and Parks and everything in between, I guess I'm the Secretary of the department that gets you to those places. Amen. Yeah, so proud to be appointed by Governor Stein and Secretary of Transportation. It's where I've spent my whole career here. Started as a summer intern way back before some of y'all were born, and I'm not going to say that year while we're here. But it's a really great pleasure of mine to be here. I've been to Chimney Rock a number of times. I've seen Senator Moffitt out here in the early days after the storm, and just the devastation that these communities have in the Rocky Broad River area is just overwhelming. And when you first see it, you're like, where do we start at? And the good news is we've got people, professionals that work at DOT, that work for DOT and work with DOT that know where to start at. And I want to start by thanking them because it's just awesome. Wright Brothers was here in that first week. They did not have a contract with us, but they knew what needed to be done, and they came in and started rebuilding and connecting these communities. So I want to thank them. I want to thank our DOT crews. Jacob Zimmerman could not be here today, but he's been integral in what's happened out here. Nathan Moneynham is in the back, and also Tim Anderson. They're the leadership, some of the leadership of the division out in this area. Glad to have them and their folks here. And it's just important for us that we've got an organization of professionals that love their communities, they love their job, they take pride in their work, and they continue to just stand out and do this great work. I also want to thank our state legislature, like Governor Stein did, and also Governor Stein for signing this bill. The unanimous passing of the Helene Recovery Bill directs nearly $300 million to the Department of Transportation for recovery work for Helene. And that money goes directly to the impacted communities like the ones that we're in this afternoon. It's a tremendous boost to us that will help us match the federal relief funds to help, and also while we're doing that, to help us avoid disruption to the non-Helene work that we do all across the state. We're estimating now that our total cost for Helene recovery just for transportation is in the $5 billion range. So this $300 million goes a long way toward helping that match that we'll need for the funds that FEMA and FHWA don't cover. Also want to thank the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. Pam was not joking when she said she texted and called me a lot, but it's certainly a partnership to be able to work with her and Brian and their staffs and help this park and help other parks and other communities in western North Carolina. The village of Chimney Rock, the town of Lake Lure, y'all have been with us side by side since the beginning. This is your communities. It's where you live. It's where you work. And we couldn't do it without you either. Also, the Bat Cave community, just right up the river here, and they've been integral in helping us for staging areas, for meeting areas, and just so many things that you don't think about when you've got a lot of recovery work to do. Today's opening would not be possible without all of those groups. You know, in the first days after the storm, like I said, it was so overwhelming. Where do you start? You know, we started trying to just get to people and then get those people to a path because the road wasn't there. That was first by foot or maybe four-wheeler. You know, then we were able to construct a gravel road, a dirt road. And as time passed, we made progress, and we really saw the importance of working toward this day to really connect this community back to where it needs to be, to western North Carolina, to the state as a whole, and the whole southeast. One of our engineers, will remain unnamed, said when he first laid eyes on this area, he thought it would be at least a year before we could even have a paved road here. But our staff, our contractors, they have worked literally thousands of hours to get to this day, and they beat that time frame by months, not by days or weeks, but by months. But you know what? They really moved more than rock and rubble and waste. They reconnected these communities to the outside world. They built that first path, like I said. Then they built the gravel road. The road was widened so cars could pass each other. And earlier this spring, this temporary road was paved to make an improved road for everybody. They completed the bridge that we all drove across to get up here this afternoon. They repaired the road, the park road, going up the hill to here. You know, you probably didn't notice, don't know if you know, but we used old rail cars to build that bridge. And, yeah, that temporary bridge you drove across is made out of rail cars that used to be on the rail line. We've got 3 of these just in this part of the state, and we've got dozens and dozens across western North Carolina.
Well, the officials there celebrate some of their history and some of the reopening as well. Hurricane Helene, always a part of North Carolina's history going forward, but today a bit of a celebration as they reopen a key state park outside of Asheville, North Carolina, that had been closed since the hurricane swept through last year. So that is some good news there. Another story that received certainly national attention more recently and closer to our home in the region, we take you now live to the Minnesota State Capitol building, and this is where the bodies of Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark Hortman are lying in state at the Capitol today, and they will be lying in state throughout the day today. Their dog also there. This is, of course, after both of them, including the now former lawmaker Melissa Hortman, were shot and killed by somebody with Wisconsin ties, we should mention as well. That person also shot two other people, including another Minnesota state lawmaker. It was a very serious affair, and unfortunately another sign of political violence here in the country. Today, Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband lying in state before a funeral service planned for tomorrow. That is being broadcast right now by our reporting partners in Minnesota, something we'll be keeping an eye on. Hortman is the first woman, actually, and one of fewer than 20 people ever to lie in state at the Minnesota State Capitol. This is in St. Paul, and according to the governor's office, the public there will be able to pay their respects in the Capitol Rotunda. As you're seeing that line of people going by, they'll be able to do that until 5 p.m. today in St. Paul. There's also a number of different ways Hortman's children are asking people to honor their late parents. 7 different ways. Things like planting a tree, visiting a local park, trying to use the outdoors. Both of them fans of biking, and as said, especially a bike trail. Pet a dog. A golden retriever was their home pet there, and certainly something also they are mourning. Tell your loved ones a cheesy dad joke. Bake something. Apparently Mark loved bread, Melissa loved cake, and then try to share it with something. Try a new hobby, enjoy learning something, and stand up for what you believe in, especially if that thing is justice and peace. The Hortmans were shot in what turned out to be a targeted shooting the morning of June 14th at their home in Brooklyn Park, and their dog as well gravely injured and ultimately was euthanized after that shooting. The alleged gunman in this also shot and injured State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette at their home, and there was apparently a whole list of politicians that this shooter allegedly had, including some with Wisconsin ties, but those 4 people, the ones impacted. The Hortmans fatally shot and killed, the Hoffmans injured but will survive. We may continue to check in for this on this for you throughout the day today here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but a chance for all of Minnesota and certainly those in the Twin Cities to pay their respects and mourn the loss of life there. We are going to take another break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Defenbaugh with you just right before the 1 o'clock hour here. We are awaiting an update from the president of the Milwaukee Police Union, Alexander Ayala, after the injuries to 2 of his officers overnight. We also have some new reporting on that, the severity of those injuries, including saying that the one injured officer is in grave condition right now. We're going to get you some more information just coming in right now after we can gather it for you here in the commercial break on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, Carl Deffenbaugh back with you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We are, as we mentioned, awaiting an interview, a follow-up interview with the Milwaukee Police Union discussing the officers that were shot and injured last night. And we have received some new information, unfortunately, about the officer injured the worst. That would be 32-year-old Kendall Corder. That officer was known to be in critical condition, but our team of reporters has continued to try to search for more information for you here. We now have it from credible police sources that the officer is likely in grave condition right now. So multiple police sources telling us the situation appears to be grave for 32-year-old Kendall Corder right now at Freighter, which is a level 1 trauma center. These are the best of the best, and immediately where gunshot victims, when it comes to the Milwaukee Police Department, are sent to give them the best chance at survival. But from what we're hearing from multiple police sources right now, they say that he appears to be in grave condition. And this is an image that we have of Officer Kendall Corder. He is the prominent face there on the left side of your screen. You can make out his name there on the uniform. This was at the Police Academy graduation from December of 2019. Both of the officers injured in this shooting had been on the Milwaukee Police Department force for about 6 years or so. That includes Kendall Corder, who you're seeing the picture of there, had taken the oath and gotten through graduation through the Police Academy in December of 2019, serving this city for about 6 years or so, and then last night involved in what police have called an ambush shooting in Milwaukee. Both he and another officer injured, the other officer expected to recover from those injuries, and unfortunately, from what we're hearing from multiple police sources, the situation appears to be grave for Milwaukee officer Kendall Corder. Some of the other information that we're getting on this would be what we're hearing from some of the representatives, local officials. We're going to try to get you that live interview in just a moment, but some other statements coming in from our elected officials, including Congresswoman Gwen Moore of Milwaukee, saying, quote, "It is so awful that the public servants working to keep our communities safe were the targets of such violence." And she goes on to say, "We all must work to tackle the gun violence crisis in our community. I am praying for the officers' healing and recovery." And our reporter at Freighter, Bowen Kedrovich, shared some of this, but the full statement from Milwaukee Alderman Russell Stamper saying, quote, "My prayers are with both of those officers, their families, and every resident impacted by this senseless act. Accountability is essential. Those responsible for inflicting harm in our community must be held accountable, but healing requires more than arrests." And he goes on to say, "To those causing harm, I urge you to think about the lives you are impacting, your own and those of your family and your neighbors. This is not the future we want for Milwaukee." And then I'll put the picture up once more again. This is the officer thought to be in grave condition at this hour, 32-year-old Kendall Corder, who is at Freighter Hospital's Level 1 Trauma Center after he was shot last night. All of this started in the area, let me get you this real quickly, last night around 9 o'clock near 25th and Garfield, where the Milwaukee Police Department was responding for a report of a suspect with a weapon. We received a briefing from officials last night, overnight, saying that actually got upgraded to a shots fired report while officers were on their way to the scene. But then when they got there, they were unexpectedly hit by that gunfire in an alley. And the assistant chief, Nicole Waldner, said that the officers were unable to return fire at that suspect. Now, that person was out on the run, thought to be armed and dangerous into the early morning hours, and at the time of that police briefing, until we received word this morning that around 2:15 this morning, Milwaukee police had arrested who they believe to be the suspect in the shooting of these two officers. We do not have the name confirmed for that suspect at this time, so don't want to share that. The Milwaukee Police Department did say that charges would be referred to the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office. So this is all developing by the minute here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but we will bring you that information as it happens. Now, here's another side issue to this, and we heard some of this discussion a bit last night, but we can also report multiple police sources are telling us they think last night's shooting kind of highlights the staffing issues that Milwaukee Police Department leaders are facing these days. They were also not pleased with the assistant chief's comments last night in that press briefing, saying that this was about guns being in the wrong hands. They think that there's a separate big issue at play that's kind of being ignored here, the staffing for Milwaukee police. We did hear from Mayor Cavalier Johnson, who was at a separate event this morning talking about solar energy that's coming to the city of Milwaukee, but then he did a separate interview with reporters after that, was asked about that very issue. Mayor Johnson said, unfortunately, staffing is an issue for police departments around the country. He said that in the budgets that he's proposed to the Common Council, they've tried to put the most money and most positions possible that they are allowed to for the Milwaukee Police Department. Now, the number of cadets going through the academy has not necessarily reached those possibilities yet. Recruiting has been an issue. The mayor pointing out to the fact that they have tried to recruit even police officers from other departments around the state, around the country, with things like signing bonuses and the like. If you're an experienced law enforcement officer coming to join the Milwaukee Police Department, and even with some of those things that they have tried, that has not necessarily led to full classes at the Milwaukee Police Academy since then. The mayor says that's a larger issue that departments around the country face, different law enforcement positions. We've certainly covered separate stories about staffing in the Milwaukee County Jail and other places like that that has not been able to keep up with the open positions and demand. But it sounds like multiple sources with police say they think that last night's shooting was the result, or at least a part of some of the issues that the department as a whole has had staffing and filling positions that they do have open. At the center of it, of course, though, is a person, a human, a Milwaukee police officer serving his city, and that would be 32-year-old Kendall Corder, who we're told from multiple sources appears to be in grave condition right now. We are awaiting that interview with the Milwaukee Police Union president, Alexander Ayala. We'll see what he has learned about the condition of those two members of his union, both the officer who was injured but not as critically as Officer Corder, and then if there is any update on the condition of Kendall Corder, we hope to get that from the union president as soon as he's doing his interview with Ashley Sears. We hope to bring you that here shortly on the Wisconsin Live Desk. In the meantime, we are going to take another short break. There's a lot more to get to, including, I'll throw this up real quick, another live look outside of the U.S. Supreme Court. We're going to get into some of the decisions that came down today from the High Court, why the Trump administration is calling one of them in particular a giant win for the administration, and returning some of the power to the executive branch versus what judges around the country had been able to put on hold when it came to the president's executive orders. A lot to get to here on a Friday in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we'll go to break with at least this, a beautiful shot of Lake Michigan. The clouds breaking up, the sun starting to shine on this Friday afternoon.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, Carl Deffenbaugh back with you here on this Friday afternoon. It is the Wisconsin Live Desk here each and every Monday through Friday, 12:30 to 2:30 on Fox Local. You can also find us on the FOX6 News Milwaukee YouTube channel as well, if that's your preference. But hey, if you're here on Fox Local, thanks a lot for checking us out. We try to bring you this live programming each and every weekday afternoon. Some of it regional, some of it national, some of it international, with what's been happening in the Middle East, certainly, as how that has impacted both the U.S. involvement and the like. We do want to get to another national story right now. We are waiting and staying on top of the latest on that Milwaukee police officer shooting. When we get an update and when we hear more on that, we're going to take you that live, because that is the pressing news of the day here in Milwaukee. But while we have a moment here, let me throw up the live camera outside of the U.S. Supreme Court as well and get you up to speed on some of the decisions, kind of a flurry of decisions that the divided court made today, its final rulings before the end of this term. It was about 6 or so different rulings that came down today. First and foremost, probably the biggest one getting the most attention would be the Supreme Court's ruling on President Donald Trump's what he wanted to do in terms of restricting birthright citizenship in the U.S. That has been under the constitutional amendment, something that allowed, for the most part, people born in the U.S. to be American citizens. The president and his Republican partners want to throw that out. Now, here is where the legalese kind of gets a little bit complicated here. So the ruling on birthright citizenship gives the administration a win, but not necessarily related to birthright citizenship exactly. Instead, it's kind of a larger ruling from the High Court today saying that individual judges around the country lack the authority to grant nationwide injunctions. So the president and certainly the administration has been unhappy with the ability of different judges at different levels around the country to put injunctions on things like executive orders and other things the president has tried to do that then applied to everyone across the country, not just to the parties involved. And this is actually something that the Biden administration, before this most recent Trump administration, had also kind of wanted changed. The justices ultimately agreed with the administration side of things today, saying that judges are overreaching by issuing orders that apply to everyone, these nationwide injunctions, instead of just to the parties involved in an actual specific case. And again, an important note, this was something that the Trump administration and previous President Joe Biden's administration had kind of been calling for here, although Republicans are certainly taking the win on this today. So in a ruling and that was written by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, she wrote the majority opinion here. A victory for Republicans, saying excuse me, let me get the wording for you here. It's a bit, yeah, again, this is where I need the law school degree. My wife is a lawyer. She'd be great to call in right now if you could phone a friend. Basically saying that these individual judges do not have the right to do these nationwide injunctions and blocking of orders like birthright citizenship. But this is where, again, I said it's a little bit complicated. They kind of left the door open about that specific ruling with birthright citizenship that was the center of this, saying some of those changes could remain blocked nationwide, and that's coming from the conservative majority on the High Court. The order from the Trump administration would have denied citizenship to U.S.-born children of people in the country illegally. So their parents may be here illegally, but those people were U.S. citizens because they were born in America. The order from President Donald Trump would deny citizenship. As you're seeing the photographer there, it appears to be kind of a rainy day in the nation's capital, wiping off the camera lens there. So Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote the majority opinion. In disagreement here, in dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor from the liberal side of the court wrote, quote, "The court's decision is nothing less than an open invitation for the government to bypass the Constitution." Now, Justice Sotomayor says this is because the administration could be able to enforce a policy even when it has been challenged and found to be unconstitutional by a lower court. The fact that the justices ruled that those broad sweeping injunctions from a lower court do not necessarily apply is the reason that worries and concerns Justice Sonia Sotomayor and some of the other liberal justices on the High Court. Now, the president himself made a rare appearance holding a news conference in the White House briefing room, saying the decision today from the Supreme Court was, quote, amazing and a, quote, monumental victory for the Constitution, the separation of powers and the rule of law. Now, that is the one receiving the most attention of the court's rulings today, but they did decide a number of other cases as well. Some of the things discussed, the court sided with parents in Maryland who had religious objections to some books that were being used in school, the court siding with those parents. In a separate ruling, they preserved a key part of an Obamacare coverage requirement, so that coverage requirement will stay in place, preserved by the High Court. The Supreme Court also upheld a law that was aimed at blocking kids from seeing pornography online. And then another one, they maintained that a fee subsidizing phone and internet services in schools, libraries, and rural areas would stay in place. So it was kind of a flurry of decisions today, the most perhaps far-reaching, the limitation of lower court judges from around the country and their ability to stop and put out nationwide injunctions against different executive orders and different rulings and things that the Trump administration or any administration could potentially be calling for. So that is what is happening in the nation's capital, while we will also take you back to St. Paul, Minnesota now, in the Capitol building for the state of Minnesota. That would be the rotunda here where the Hortmans lie in state. That would be former Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark Hortman, who were killed in a targeted attack back on June 14th, at their home. Their dog, also injured in that shooting, had to be ultimately euthanized. And of course, that was just one of two political couples in the state of Minnesota in this targeted attack. The others were injured, not killed. Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette were killed at their home. The gunman in that is still a suspected gunman. That is still working its way through the legal process, but that person had ties to southeastern Wisconsin, including getting degrees from some of the local colleges here in town, and had a list of different politicians in what was expected to be a series of targeted shootings, including politicians from here in Wisconsin. So the couple, Melissa Hortman, her husband Mark, Melissa was the state representative for Minnesota. She is lying in state with her husband at the Capitol building throughout the day today. It has been a steady stream of people walking through the rotunda there to pay their final respects before a funeral service for the Hortmans will take place tomorrow. We are awaiting a number of other things from around the country and certainly here locally for you as well. In the meantime, we are going to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We will try to get you that interview, hoping to bring it to you live here while we still have this window. It is the Wisconsin Live Desk. We hope to bring you an interview with the president of the Milwaukee Police Association, an update possibly on the status, the health status, and the recovery fight for those two officers shot and injured last night in Milwaukee. All that to come and much more still on the Wisconsin Live Desk here on a Friday afternoon.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, good afternoon. Carl Defenbaugh back with you here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is approaching 1:30, 1:23 here on this Friday afternoon, covering a lot of serious news, and that's unfortunately just kind of the way it is on this day. It's Friday. People want to look forward to the weekend, but unfortunately the officers getting shot last night is the story of the day. And then nationally, some of the serious rulings coming in from the U.S. Supreme Court as well that will have ramifications for many people. But since it is a Friday afternoon here, we have a bit of a break. We can have some fun with some of what's to come at Summerfest. Let's pop up this beautiful shot, not showing you the Summerfest grounds here from our Esterbrook Park tower camera, but a great shot of Lake Michigan and farther south from where this camera is pointed along the lakefront. That is where the music is back underway already. The Big Gig's second day of weekend number 2 started around noon today. We'll run through the night tonight with all kinds of music for you to check out. First and foremost, we'll pop this up for you. The headliners, of course, at the big stage, the American Family Insurance Amphitheater. It's the Killers tonight. It's going to be a rockin' good time for all the people going to check out the Killers, with the Cold War Kids leading off, opening the show, and then Mr. Brightside and all the rest going to be blasting there from the amp down at the Summerfest grounds. Besides that, we, of course, always keep a special eye on the U.S. Cellular Connection stage. That's because Fox 6 is a partner with U.S. Cellular for that stage performance. Every day, it's something special. It's something different. We had a country theme for yesterday's performers leading off weekend number 2. Today, it's all about the rap takeover here as the headliners tonight that you can check out. Skrilla, followed by 1900 Rugrat, and then Offset to close out the show tonight on the festival grounds. You'll be able to check out Offset, that former member of Migos, became so popular performing here in Milwaukee. As for tomorrow, then it's another genre shift. How about this at the U.S. Cellular stage for the Saturday headliners? Small Pools and Young the Giant should be a very good time for the folks headed down. The best part probably for anyone going to Summerfest is just how good the weather looks the rest of the way, both today and tomorrow. Now that the rain is kind of cleared out from Friday morning, it is all smooth sailing ahead. It's going to be beautiful out there tonight, possibly even better tomorrow, so that's really good news for so many people checking out some of the music. And while we're on the topic of headliners, we take you back to the amphitheater. Megan Thee Stallion is performing tomorrow to close out weekend number 2 at the amphitheater, with special guest Flo Milli performing as well. But elsewhere on the stage, you get all kinds of good stuff. I love just kind of looking through the lineup, seeing what we have. So let me do that for you live here as we, oh hey, look, it's the newsroom. That was an accidental press. Now we're back in studio. It's the Live Desk. Things happen. So today, along the festival grounds, some of the other things you can check out in terms of the headliners later on, that would be Joe D. Messina performing tonight. I mentioned Offset, Billy Corgan and the Machines of God. You get Phil Vassar on the U-Line stage. He's always a good time, pretty entertaining for the crowd. And Cake, if you like them, they seem to always pop up on the radio. They'll be performing tonight around, looks like 9:30 at the BMO Pavilion. So that's the one you can get some special tickets if you want to be closer, or you can just walk up with your general admission ticket and check it out. As for Saturday, if you're headed back to the Big Gig, not only Megan Thee Stallion, not only Young the Giant and Small Pools at the U.S. Cellular stage, the Fray, very popular. They'll tell you how to save a life around 9:30 at the U-Line stage. Some of the other headliners to close out the weekend, Riley Green, a good country star at the BMO Pavilion. Here Come the Mummies, Bossman, D-Lo, the Mavericks, you get it all at Summerfest. That's the joy, right? Popping around, you never know what you're going to find when you're out there on the festival grounds. And over the next couple days, we got some good ones for you. That is certainly the case for weekend number 2 here, getting going. Day number 2, I should say, of weekend number 2 at Summerfest. How about another live look outside? Kind of love taking you around, showing you some of the different cameras that we have here throughout the Milwaukee area. We have this, a beautiful shot of downtown Milwaukee with City Hall and the flag waving there atop City Hall. A bit breezy, and you can see the clouds kind of moving by too as they've broken up throughout the day today. And then I think this is still up. Yeah, live shot of American Family Field. I mentioned it. The roof is open. We are getting ready for baseball against the worst team in the league, the Colorado Rockies. I am that unfortunate person whose father decided that I was going to be a Rockies fan when I was growing up, and it has led to much heartbreak and futility over my fandom. Congratulations to the Brewers, who have been a far more successful franchise than my team. Good luck this weekend, a 3-game set, although it's really the party around the games, especially when you get a team that doesn't even have 20 wins yet coming to town. Tonight, it's not just music at Summerfest, it's Nelly performing at the ballpark in a post-game concert that has been highly anticipated. They started early. It's a 7:10 first pitch, but they're opening the lots early today for a happy hour at the ballpark. Discounts on beer inside if you head on in early to that game and then settle in to watch the Rockies and watch the Brewers go at it tonight. Jose Quintana on the mound for the Crew, and then afterwards you get Nelly. It's hot in her, apparently, with the roof open at American Family Field. I think I made that joke like 3 times throughout the day today. Probably need to retire it, but that's the way we go. All right, we're going to give you another live look at some of the things happening around our different camera feeds here for you on this Friday afternoon. We are awaiting a number of things and trying to bring them to you. A different shot of the U.S. Supreme Court, as I mentioned, some of the rulings handed down by the court at the very end of this term, many of them in favor of the Trump administration. So President Donald Trump did a rare press conference in the White House press briefing room today, calling that a big win, an amazing ruling, and a monumental victory for the Constitution, according to the president, while other groups have come out saying that what the Supreme Court did was potentially bad for the separation of powers in the U.S. Constitution. So that's happening in D.C. We mentioned the continued lying in state of the Minnesota officials, including Representative Melissa Hortman at the Rotunda Capitol in St. Paul. And then elsewhere, we are awaiting this right now. This is supposed to be a briefing with U.S. senators discussing many things. I'm sure the U.S. Supreme Court rulings will come up in that, as well as the final push to get the president's so-called big, beautiful bill across the finish line. The president has said he wants Republican senators to work out the language, try to get a bill to his desk to sign by July 4th. Well, we are officially 1 week away from that, and senators are expected to work throughout the weekend trying to fine-tune some of the language, work on what stays, what goes from that bill. So it's something that even some of the hardcore GOP holdouts will be able to agree to sign off on. Of course, with such a divided Congress, you need almost every last one of those Republican votes. And Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson has been one of the people who has not said definitely that he would vote yes on this. Hasn't said he would vote no either, but he's had some discussions with President Donald Trump about the issues that he has with the budget bill and what he hopes to see in that. All right, we are going to do our handoff here. Ben Handelman standing by momentarily, but let's get you a nice, beautiful shot of the lake out there, Lake Michigan, on this Friday afternoon. It's a Summerfest Friday, a whole lot of fun along the lakefront, and Ben has something kind of fun for you coming up in the next hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk, but I'll let him tell you about that once he gets in here. So we're going to leave this beauty shot up. Think of it like a screensaver. While I get logged out, Ben gets logged in, and Ben Handelman will be with you for the second hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks a lot for watching here on Fox Local.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. It's Friday. We're getting closer to 2 o'clock. We've just done the switch over here, and I do have some breaking news just coming out of the newsroom. We can now say that multiple sources, multiple law enforcement sources, tell us the suspect has been arrested, who has been arrested in connection to the shooting of those 2 Milwaukee police officers, is 22-year-old Tremaine Jones. He has not yet been criminally charged. We want to be clear on that, but we can now name the suspect who is in custody after this terrible shooting occurred last night. So we can now tell you once again, 22-year-old Tremaine Jones in custody, not yet been charged. This was the scene last night in the 9 o'clock hour, 25th and Garfield, and according to investigators, the suspect ambushed the 2 police officers, and just a terrible, terrible scene last night as those officers were then rushed to Freighter Hospital. We did get an update today saying that the 32-year-old officer who was injured is in grave condition. Multiple sources confirming the FOX6 he is in grave condition. Just a terrible scene out there as we're just learning a lot more about the officer. That is Kendall Corder at Freighter Hospital. Witnesses say there were multiple shots, and according to the police last night, unfortunately, none of the shots that were heard came from law enforcement. They did not get a single shot off. As again, they, according to law enforcement sources, telling us they were just ambushed out there last night at 25th and Garfield. This really has all been unpacking throughout the day. We have learned again that suspect now in custody as we continue to follow all of that breaking news. We do have multiple statements that have come into the newsroom. This one coming from Milwaukee Alderman Russell Stamper, longtime alderman, has represented the Central City. My prayers are with both of these officers, their families, and every resident impacted by this senseless act. Gwen Moore sent a release out not too long ago saying, "It is so awful that the public servants working to keep our community safe were the targets of such violence." So we'll continue to follow what's happening here as, again, getting that update from multiple law enforcement sources is that telling us Tremaine Jones is the suspect who was arrested after this manhunt that occurred in the last day or so, since last night. So we had the incident happened about 9 o'clock. There was a flood of officers to that scene last night, and you saw the lights just lighting up the area on 25th and Garfield and really multiple blocks in all directions as police set up a perimeter, and they were looking for this guy. As of the press conference, which happened just before 2 in the morning last night in the 1 o'clock hour, so it was several hours after the shooting, he was not in custody, and it took police until today. They do say he was taken into custody without incident, and so we will keep following that. I just want to give you a live look at some of the feeds that we've got coming into the newsroom here. We are following what's happening in Minnesota as the lawmakers, who investigators say were politically targeted, and one lawmaker and her husband were killed. They're lying in state. Melissa and Mark Hortman lie in state at the state capitol. And we have seen throughout the day now this steady stream of people flooding into the state capitol there, as right there at the rotunda, you can see it looks like a state trooper is standing guard, and people, unbelievable how many people have showed up to pay their respects for this Minnesota lawmaker who was gunned down inside her home. The suspected shooter, investigators say, was targeting politicians, driving around the Minnesota suburbs, the Twin City suburbs, looking for politicians, and the Hortmans, unfortunately, opened the door to this guy, and according to investigators, he opened fire. So you can see we've got this live shot coming from our sister station up at KMSP. The funeral is set for tomorrow, and the family is making this very open. They realize that the community is with them in the grieving process, and so this has been a very open and public show of grief as the Hortmans lie in state. I can't remember the last time someone from Wisconsin lied in state, something usually reserved for the highest politicians who served your community, and obviously the family would have to be on board with that as well. So that's the live picture that we are following at this hour. Following the weather out there today, this is a live picture that I've got coming from our tower camera as we look over Lake Michigan. I'll just show you the radar real quick because it is Friday, the weekend is kicking in, and this is picture perfect weather for Summerfest as Summerfest continues on weekend number 2. We still call it the new format, even though it's not so new, as here we go. Let's see, Friday's big headliner, it's the Killers are at the American Family Insurance Amphitheater tonight. I think Cake is playing tonight. That's a band I'd like to see on one of the quote-unquote free stages. So Summerfest finally, after we had such terrible, terrible heat last weekend, gets a beautiful day for Summerfest. Saturday looks just as good, as that's a big night as well, as a big headliner is playing on Saturday night. It's Megan Thee Stallion who will play the AmFam Insurance Amphitheater with Flo Milli. So that is expected to be a big crowd down there. And now that Summerfest has kind of elongated the festival but limited the days because they're doing it on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, kind of rare between June and July to have perfect weather through that stretch. So they got the heat out of the way. Things will heat back up on Sunday around here, which is A-OK for Summerfest. They want it to be hot, just not so hot on the days that the festival is happening, but they are really mostly concerned about the rain. So we are watching the radar there, but there ain't nothing to see because it's looking good as we zoom out a little bit on the radar. That's the regional. Just some clouds is all we're dealing with to our south and our north. Blue skies out there on a beautiful day here in Milwaukee. We'll watch the traffic for you a little bit too. Not seeing too many issues out on the roadways at this hour. We'll see if Summerfest crowds will play a role. I will tell you, if you're driving through Shorewood, the Dairyland bike race is happening. Tour of America Dairyland, our producer Carrie reminding me the name of it there. I forgot that the event was happening today. And that I had a terrible time getting stuck on the side roads of Shorewood because I was coming down Oakland and I was like, oh man, there must be construction. They've closed off Oakland, forgetting that they're having this big bike race that literally started at 10 something in the morning. And the professional riders, they'll race at 7 p.m. tonight. So if you're going to Shorewood, make sure you realize that there's this giant bike race happening on Oakland because I took a left instead of a right, and that put me towards Lake Drive. Lake Drive is shut down because of construction. So I basically gave up and turned around and made a giant, huge circle. So that is something to be aware of as you're out there. But again, look, that is over the Hone Bridge. Beautiful shot there. Summerfest on your right there, and really no traffic issues out there as the weather is perfect. Hey, in about 15 minutes here on the live desk, we're going to have a fun interview because there's something going on in Greendale tonight. As we've got a circus that's in town, but not just any circus. It's a scary circus. The Paranormal Circa is performing. They've got the big top up there down in the southern suburbs, and it's a really wild circus. So in about 15 minutes, a member of the circus is going to join us, one of the performers, and tell us what that is all about. Meanwhile, we'll continue to follow the live feeds. I'm seeing some movement on a press conference out of Washington. Stay with us. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk here exclusive.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Handelman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. We're continuing to follow the breaking news after 2 Milwaukee police officers were shot, and we're learning from multiple sources that one of those officers, the 32-year-old officer who was shot, is in grave condition. The other officer, a 29-year-old, is expected to be okay. Abril Preciado has been out at the scene. She's been talking with people. She's at District 2 as she's just been gathering some information. I'll take her shot as she's kind of been working the scene out there. I'm not sure if, Abril, you can talk to us right now, because I know some people don't want to be on camera as they're dropping flowers off that you're seeing there at District 2. These are where the officers worked, correct?
Yes, so yes, as you guys just caught us right now, you know, we're in the middle of news gathering too. We saw some people that were stopping by here at District 2 to drop off some flowers. For those that don't know or that are just tuning in right now, what we know is that the 2 officers that were involved in the shooting were District 2 officers. They were responding to a call in District 3. So during our time that we have been out here for about maybe 2 hours. We saw, this is a second group of people that we've seen come in here and kind of like pay their respects to District 2. Another lady that we saw earlier, she said that she came and dropped off like a couple of I believe some goodies to District 2, and then this is the second group that we saw stop by and bring some flowers, which was truly moving. It happened maybe just a couple of, like maybe 2 minutes before we had to go on air right now. The gentleman said that they didn't want to be on camera, but they said that they were very heartbroken and they felt hurt by what happened last night with the shooting, and they just wanted to come and give support to the police department out here, especially this district, which, by the way, we also went inside there earlier just to see if we could speak to anyone. And while they, for obvious reasons, you know, were unable to speak to us on camera, I could just sense the heaviness inside of District 2. And you sense it as soon as you walk in. A lot of emotions going on there. As we know, the 2 officers did work here, and this is just a couple of new updates or just information just to kind of brief you guys on what we know at this time. We know that 29-year-old is in non-life-threatening injuries, and the 32-year-old is in critical condition. Multiple sources have confirmed with us with FOX6 that the name of the, let me just grab my details really quick. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, we know that officer is 32-year-old Kendall Corder. Abril, I want to ask you, I know you're talking to those guys off camera. Did they have a special connection to the district or the police officers? I kind of was overhearing your conversation a little bit, or if they were city workers.
Yeah, so they were telling me that they work closely with them in a program. I wasn't really able to fully, you can pass through, so sorry. There's, obviously we're in public space right now, so there's people passing through right now. But they were telling us that they work closely with them. And so they just wanted to stop by. They work, I guess, with a local organization that I was somehow able to write down my messy writing quickly. But yes, they said that they have had a couple of good interactions and have worked with the police department here, and so that's why they wanted to come and show their respects and also support, to let them know that they're here and that they value and they appreciate everything that they do. And that's pretty much what we have sensed from people that we spoke to during our time out here. Another lady that we spoke to said that she was just heartbroken after hearing what happened as well, and that's pretty much what we have been seeing today too.
And is there an area where they drop the flowers, or they bring them inside?
They did bring them inside, yes.
Okay.
They took them inside and they dropped them off. It was pretty quick. As mentioned, we saw them walking in first, like maybe 3 minutes before this live hit, and just before, I think like maybe less than a minute, they came back out.
Right, yeah, just
so
quickly
it was
dropping
fairly
those flowers
quick.
off. But we've seen this before. I
Yes,
mean, people want to show these officers support. You were saying that other group just wanted to bring the officers goodies. I mean, you got to think, especially the officers that were working last night with District 2. They have not gotten any sleep, but oftentimes none of them take the next day off. You wouldn't blame them if they said, hey, we need a day to process everything that's happened, but I'm assuming a lot of those officers right back to work in that police district behind you. So it's great to see community members showing their support as well as they're showing up with things for the officers to show them how much our community appreciates the work that they do.
Yes, and I feel like that goes a long way. I know from the conversation that I had with the officer that I spoke with, even then, he also said that, like, you know, that pretty much, you know, you could tell they're heartbroken. He didn't need to tell me, but you can just see it, like, from their expressions and whatnot, and I'm sure, like, just seeing this, that kind of allows them to feel the love from the community, which I'm sure also is very helpful, especially during very difficult times right now. And again, you know, as journalists, these are usually the types of news that are also very hard for us to also report on, not the ones that we would like to report on, but we have to as well. And, you know, just to continue to inform you guys, because it's very saddening, you know, just to see the impact that it has. And clearly, you know, it's not just affecting, like, you know, the police department. It's something that is having a greater impact to the community out here. As we've seen, you know, many people have been moved by it, just coming out here, sharing their respects, and, you know, and providing support for them, to just letting them know, you know, we hear you guys, we appreciate you guys, and we're out here as well.
And I think it's taking a lot of people by surprise who know the police department too, that these are District 2 police officers, Abril, because District 2, they cover the near south side and kind of west towards, you know, if you're going out towards State Fair Park, not in West Dallas obviously, but in Milwaukee. And where this happened, 25th and Garfield, actually that's in District 3 territory, but these guys overlap a lot. Obviously it was a busy night in District 3 as well last night. We were at a homicide scene just before that. It wouldn't surprise me if these guys were helping out patrol the streets, or if their investigations took them into District 3, which, you know, not too far of a drive for them. But these police officers, they do help each other out and move all throughout the city. So it was kind of interesting to see that this was District 2. I think that took kind of police insiders a little bit by surprise. These guys were a little bit outside of their district.
Yes, once again, from what we know, from what we have been able to gather, is that, again, both of these officers were from District 2. They were responding to a call in District 3, helping out their colleagues out there, and somehow they ended up in that situation, which is unfortunate as well. But yeah, so far we're out here, we're monitoring people that we could see. We're still trying to gather more information regarding the officers. We know that the 32-year-old officer is still in critical condition, and yeah, so right now we're still out here. We're still trying to news gather.
Yeah, and we'll let you get back to it. We'll let you get back to the news gathering. But Abril, obviously our hearts are heavy for what's happening there at District 2. Tough day for those officers, tough day for the city of Milwaukee. So I appreciate your reporting. I appreciate you being here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Thank you.
Abril Preciado out there working once again outside of District 2. So just the very latest, just to catch you up to date on that, 2 Milwaukee police officers shot last night, 25th and Garfield, and our sources are telling us the 32-year-old police officer is now in grave condition at Freighter Hospital. A 29-year-old police officer is expected to make a full recovery. If there's any good news that's coming out today, that would be it. So, yeah, I'm just looking at the latest information here. Okay, so we'll continue to work those scenes, as obviously we got crews out and about working this very big story right now here in Milwaukee today. Switching gears here, just want to show you the live shot that's outside right now, as that is the look at Lake Michigan. Weather's not an issue today, just some beautiful clouds out there, blue skies, temperature's not too hot, 84, kind of the picture-perfect day to be out and doing things around the community. Obviously, it's a big weekend for Summerfest. Also, there is a very interesting event taking place, and it's happening in Greendale, as they have set up a circus tent, but this is not your ordinary circus. If you like spooky things, or you like the circus, They've now combined these two things, and we're going to talk with a performer next here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Stay with us.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Handelman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. So just want to catch everybody up to date what we're dealing with the Milwaukee police officers that have been shot. We can now say that multiple law enforcement sources are telling us the suspect who's been arrested in connection to the shooting, we've learned, is 22-year-old Tremaine Jones. When this shooting happened last night, in the 9 o'clock hour, 25th in Garfield, the suspect was on the loose. And even when police officers talked later in the day, he was not in custody. And so luckily, they say he was finally arrested. Unclear where or how this occurred, but it was without incident. So obviously armed, dangerous, a guy with a history, according to investigators, of ambushing police officers. That is someone they obviously was the most wanted man in Milwaukee in the last 12 hours here. So we will keep watching that story as well. I'm trying to get our interview here. We do have a very special guest coming in from the paranormal circuit that's taking place down there in Greendale, Southridge, in the parking lot. There is a circus that's in town. Will be here for the next couple of weekends, and it's a really interesting event. Just trying to get our guest all lined up. So I'm going to take another quick break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, but we'll have a way for you to get in at a discount if we can get our interview up and running. So stay with us here. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk exclusively on Fox.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. We're still watching all of our feeds that are coming in here. I'm just going to see if I can do a little round robin here as I'll just show you some of the feeds that we're working on. Just give me 5 seconds here because I want to show you obviously a beautiful day that we're following here on the radar. I just need to set some shots up here as we are working around the horn here. So give me a second here as you're watching live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Okay, I do want to show you guys a news shot that's come in from the Supreme Court because there has been some big news that has just come out of the Supreme Court here today as the court has restricted the ability of federal judges to block President Trump's executive orders, or really any president's executive orders. The decision may reshape the way U.S. citizenship is granted. So big decision here as the Supreme Court has actually limited the ability of federal judges to pause President Trump's executive orders. Big decision there, as this is a big win for President Trump, as a lot of his executive orders had been struck down from lower courts, and they've all been making their way up towards the Supreme Court as there is this battle that's been brewing right before our eyes over power, both between these different branches of government. Who's got the ability, what kind of power does the executive branch have? Should some of these executive orders, should that power actually be Congress's? Well, the Supreme Court today really limiting the ability of federal judge to temporarily pause President Trump's executive orders, but they didn't make a ruling on the constitutionality of the rules. So that will still be fought over in the courts, but this will mean that when the president does have an executive order, it'll be much harder for federal judges in lower courts to put pauses on some of those things. And we have seen really throughout this presidency just those flurry of executive orders. So that's the breaking news that is coming out of the Supreme Court today as we continue to watch that shot. I'll show you quickly. I'm going to pull up the stock market here. We're ending the week here. And, ooh, wrong shot there. Okay, here we go. Stock market here on your Friday is slightly up, 230 points. That is good to see the green, but it's been kind of a rocky day as it was up higher there throughout the day as we're kind of watching still some of this global news. Some of it was, though, that the Trump administration had reached an economic deal with China, which would be obviously huge news. But there are headlines coming in that the Trump administration has ended all U.S. trade talks with Canada over digital services tax. And I think that has spooked the market from their gains earlier in the day, dropped them down a little bit. But again, there was a lot of news is being made on each day with what's happening with these tariff talks between the Trump administration and what's happening with the United States government, and what are these world leaders willing to give up, or if anything, or are they going to fight back on this? And Wall Street has really been kind of all over the board on this, as we've seen ups and downs and ups and downs. So after good news between the president, the Trump administration, and China, we get some, if you were in the business world, some negative news, a hiccup here in talks between the U.S. and Canada. Canada, of course, is our biggest trading partner. China, a huge player as well. So we are kind of seeing some swings as the stock traders are trying to make sense of it as they are going into a week before we go into a holiday week next week with July 4th coming up. So trading a little shortened next week. So this will be the last full week here before some of these people are going to go out of town and go on vacation for next week. So we'll continue to follow this. So stay with us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk as new feeds are coming in.
Exploded. We thought we fell.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk as we continue to follow the breaking news of the hour. Again, those two Milwaukee police officers were shot last night, and Fox 6, multiple law enforcement sources telling Fox 6 the 32-year-old officer, unfortunately, is in grave condition at Froedtert Hospital. The 29-year-old officer is expected to be okay. I want to bring in Ashley Sears here, who's been following this story throughout the day. Really, we've been following this story since the moment it happened. And Ash, obviously, we've got these officers. They are healing over at Froedtert, and the investigation continues. A lot of movement today with the suspect.
Yeah, Ben, I want to give you a lay of the land here. We're at 24th and Garfield, where you saw on our news last night, this place was covered with police officers, yellow tape, a stark contrast from what it looks like today as this neighborhood tries to get back to some sense of normalcy. Now, earlier today, we saw police officers back out here kind of combing the neighborhood. Exactly what they were looking for, we don't know. We saw them go inside a home down the way. We also saw members of the Office of Community Wellness and Safety. They were going door to door with about 30 people, just checking in on people, how they're doing since what happened last night. They say they were also handing out gun locks. We saw people, just cleaning up the neighborhood as well, kind of the day after what had happened here. They say normally they would come out during that investigation, but they were told by the police department not to come here because it was not safe. So they wanted to get back out here today. Now, a short time ago, Ben, we spoke with the Milwaukee Police Association President Alex Ayala, and he tells us he spoke with some family members of the officer who was shot. He says one of those officers was shot in the foot and the back. He says the other suffered multiple gunshot wounds to his upper arm, and at least one round penetrated his chest cavity, causing severe internal injuries, including to his heart. Now, Ayala says that officer is in the ICU, and he says the next 24 hours are going to be critical for him. And we spoke with some neighbors out here today who say this place was obviously covered with police officers. It was a scary time for everyone as they search for that suspect. We do know a suspect was taken into custody early this morning around 2:15, and this is now the third and fourth police officers shot in the line of duty this year. That's right, 3 have been shot in the last 2 weeks, and Ayala says this is a very, very tough time for the Milwaukee Police Department, but despite all of that, officers are coming to work, they're putting the uniform on, and they are back on duty today, even though their friends are injured, and it was a very scary situation last night.
So 9 o'clock last night, these officers get a call. These are District 2 officers. I know they're in District 3, though not uncommon for officers to kind of switch over districts maybe to just take other calls. But the first call that came in, Ash, was just a subject with a gun, but then things kind of escalated, right?
Yeah, I believe it was subject with a gun, then a shots fired call, and we were told by Milwaukee police that those 2 officers were then ambushed by a gunman, and they didn't even have time to draw their own weapons during that situation.
Yeah, I remember, we heard from a witness last night, and he was talking about the barrage of gunfire he heard, just pow, 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 pow. And what was terrifying to me when I was listening to the press conference last night, the Milwaukee Police Department says those officers didn't get a single shot off. So all of the gunshots that those witnesses heard last night, those presumably were coming from the suspect.
Yeah, exactly. Those officers were unable to draw their own weapons in this area. Neighbors we spoke with shared some video of just, it showed a quiet scene around about 9:20, and a short time later you see officer after officer after officer arriving here on the scene as this neighborhood turned into a crime scene, and neighbors didn't leave their homes at that point. This happening so close. It was in the alleyway right over here is what I'm told, behind some of these homes. Right now, I believe these are Habitat for Humanity homes that are being worked on today, and the work here continues as this neighborhood tries to get back to normal. We see kids outside, neighbors kind of outside, but a stark contrast to kind of what it looked like last night.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really got sleep in that neighborhood last night because of the sea of blue and red lights that illuminated. I gotta say, Ash, looking around you, it is just shocking to me how things have just gone back to normal. We don't see, we just saw like a sea of police tape last night, and it does appear that the investigation part, I know you've said that you have seen them in the neighborhood, but as far as people not being allowed to go anywhere, I can't even see a sign of where the crime scene was.
Yeah, when we arrived out here late this morning, there were still police officers out here kind of walking around. They went into a few homes just down the way here. We left here and went to do our interview with the Milwaukee Police Association president around 12:40, and police were still here. Tim Primo, who's a photographer, he was on the scene, and he said officers left a short time ago. So yeah, it looks like a normal neighborhood back to the way it was probably at 8 o'clock last night before everything went down.
Yeah, we're seeing people going about their business. We've seen a mailman now, UPS truck, go on by. Well, Ash, I appreciate you being here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, giving us those updates as we're seeing the neighborhood. And obviously, we'll look forward to your reporting tonight at 4, 5, and 6. Appreciate you joining us.
Yep, thank you, Ben.
Ashley Sears reporting there in Milwaukee. So we're continuing to follow, obviously, all of the news that's occurring right now, and we do have some statements. We've read them a couple times here. We'll show them again because they're the newest statements we have into the newsroom. Russell Stamper, longtime Milwaukee alderman, covers parts of the central city. My prayers are with both of these officers, their families, and every resident impacted by this senseless act. Gwen Moore, the congresswoman from Milwaukee, saying it is so awful that the public servants working to keep our community safe were the targets of such violence. So that is the latest there. New statement here coming in from State Representative Bob Donovan. Obviously, he was a longtime alderman in the city of Milwaukee. He now represents Greenfield at the state capitol. He's a state lawmaker now, but he worked and walked the streets of Milwaukee for most of his career, saying, if we are going to place blame, then let us place it squarely where it belongs, with the scumbag who freely chose to pick up a gun. Who chose to point that gun at these two officers, and who decided to pull the trigger? That is the State Representative Bob Donovan, one who does not mince his words ever, really, in his entire career, and not mincing it here as well. Bob Donovan going on to write, the bottom line is that Milwaukee doesn't have a gun problem, it has a criminal problem. The sooner the mayor and city leaders admit this fact and take steps to address it, the better off we all will be. Bob Donovan ran to be the mayor of Milwaukee and was defeated by Cavalier Johnson quite handily, has now moved into state lawmaker out there in Greenfield. But yeah, so just there we're seeing the State Representative Bob Donovan not mincing his words again, as he is saying that the city needs to be tougher on crime after this terrible incident. Do want to get you caught up on the latest with that suspect. Again, you heard that reporting from Ashley Sears. The suspect was found and arrested without incident, and we can confirm, we have multiple sources telling us, and I'm just going to pull up the statement here. The suspect, 22-year-old Tremaine Jones. However, we need to be clear here. Jones has not been criminally charged as of this point. Oftentimes, that will not happen until, sometimes it could take several days before we would see charges in this case. But we knew from last night, after this incident happened, that police knew who they were looking for, and they didn't release a name. Oftentimes, when they do not release a name like that and say they know who they're looking for, it's because they don't need the help of the public. They were pretty confident they were going to catch him, and that is exactly what happened this morning when we believe Milwaukee police officers eventually found this guy and brought him into custody after, again, officers were saying this was an ambush that took place out there on the streets of 25th and Garfield. So our crews are all over this. Ashley had just spoken with the MPA president, who gave us some updates on the two officers who were struck. The 29-year-old suspect appears he got hit in the leg and foot and will be okay, expected to walk out of the hospital, but all thoughts are right now with the 32-year-old police officer who, again, Ashley says was shot, it seems, right in the chest. And police officers do wear that protective gear most of the time, but that does not stop everything. And here we've got an officer who is now fighting for his life in Freighter, as some of the earlier reporting were saying he was in grave condition. The Milwaukee Police Association president telling Ashley Sears that he's in surgery in the ICU and saying these next 24 hours will be critical. So keep those thoughts and prayers coming. As, again, we talked to Abril Preciado not too long ago, who has seen people showing up to District 2, and they're dropping off items to show their support, whether that's food and goodies, to a couple of guys showing up with flowers, just members of the community say, hey, we are thinking about you, Milwaukee Police. So we'll continue to follow our breaking news. We'll continue to follow our live feeds here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Only a few more minutes here on the show. So when we return, we'll do another Around the Horn here, and we'll tell you what's going on, because it really could change by the moment. You're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk on Fox Local.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. You know, sometimes when we have friends who don't live in Milwaukee and we try and tell them about Milwaukee summers, these are the days that we talk about, where it is just picture perfect. You might, the water looks like it's from the Caribbean. You could just cloud watch as those things are slowly moving on by. An unbelievable summer day here in Milwaukee. And again, it's a summer weekend where there is so many things happening. The biggest thing I think is happening out there on the Summerfest grounds is the Killers. They will take the AmFam Insurance Amphitheater tonight. They're playing with the Cold War kids. The Killers, I've never been to a Killers show. I know people who have. Unbelievable shows I've heard that they put on, and hopefully there is a huge crowd to greet them. As Summerfest gets underway with its kind of new format here, as it is, 3 weekends, 3 days. We go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, no more Sundays. They no longer take the Monday off and do a Tuesday, Wednesday thing. So yeah, they've kind of extended the festival. Granted, it's a couple days less, but a big night for the Killers. Another big thing that's happening, and I think this is kind of wacky and wild, I got to tell it to you about Paranormal Cirque. So this is happening ground there in Greendale at Southridge. They have put up the kind of big tents out there. Let's see if I can get some audio on here. If you like circuses and you like really creepy stuff, this might be for you, as they've combined circus with spooky. This is the press release they put out. Are you ready, Greendale? Do you love thrilling, wicked, sexy, or even dangerous things? Then Paranormal Cirque will expose you to a unique creation of combined theater, circus, cabaret, and a new European-style flair. This is Cirque Italiana that has circuses all over the country. They're in town, and this weekend and next, they're kind of doing this wacky paranormal circus thing, which I think is kind of great. But I don't think this is the kind of circus you want to bring. Like, I have a 4-year-old daughter. I'm not sure I would bring her to this circus. But they've got all the circus performances you're used to. Wheel of Death, motorcycles, trapeze artists, and then they're just mixing in like zombies with it, which I think is funny. So tickets are on sale right now, and actually here, I think I've got a discount code for everybody. So if you're on the Wisconsin Live Desk, you're watching right now, here you go, right there. See the QR code? You could just use promo code 5OFF. They get you $5 off. But there's the dates for you. It's happening this weekend. 2 shows on Saturday and Sunday. They've got a Monday show, actually. And then they're going to kick back in next weekend, 2 shows Saturday and Sunday. And again, a Monday show. So they're having this Paranormal Cirque out there in Greendale. That's what the big tent is. That's kind of what all this weird thing is happening. I think the music's so spooky. So anyway, that should be a little fun for you on your Friday. Something to do, is a lot of people have, friends and family coming into town the next couple of days. Hey, thanks for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We're obviously covering all the breaking news that's happening right now. And the joy of having your Fox Local app, you can click into these stories. You can go through line by line and really just take it. You see a story you like, you're going to find more information here in the app. So check that out. You can check out our stations also around the country. You can check out the weather. There's so much you can do here. But we really like being here on the Live Desk from 12:30 to 2:30. We don't know where the journey will take us. We never know where it will go. But thanks for joining us. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.
The FDA calls it a groundbreaking step in scientific research.
It's a complex model of what's happening in the brain
that could lead to new treatments.
It is a very ambitious goal, for sure.
Without using animals.
This will discover better drugs.
But are these new approaches ready?
You still need that living system.
I think the notion of being able to do everything that I do in a Petri dish quite frankly, is bull.